the opportunity to be part of and agrochemical farmers. In 2022, India will celebrate its 75th anniversary of independence. Indeed, a proud moment. Over the past 25 years, I had innumerable visits to India, and I wish in my heart I could be there with you in Washington State as well. I grew up on a farm, and although our sheep wool growing operation in Australia is very different to the average Indian farm, the wonderful and consistent thing about our industry is that it goes deep. Deep into the field, where the challenges of farming, rural communities, and increasingly the challenges of the world in the future are very real. Places where our industry, the agrochemical industry, can make a difference. The Indian agrochemical industry has two important aspects that are very interdependent when we consider sustainable growth. How we enable sustainable growth in that critical Indian agricultural industry, in the field in India. And at the same time, India playing an increasingly significant role in responsible supply of agriculture to the world, agrochemicals to the world. And sorry, I'm getting some feedback, so I'll turn my microphone down. My premise is that we collectively have the pieces and the intent, and that some of the forward-thinking policy pathways that India is now forming or considering are pivotal to success. With those forward-thinking policy and regulatory provisions put into action, we increase our speed and our capability to deliver on the sustainability growth agenda. Sustainable growth for agriculture in India and for a global Indian agrochemical business. Let's look at the sustainability side of growth in Indian agriculture first. The fact that the industry in India is growing is indisputable. But how are we doing on sustainability? And there are many sides to that question. The first of these is human. And we could talk about many things here, and I can share with you a lot of data. But I know that all or most of you have had the same experiences that I've had at some time in our careers. For many of us, would be blessed to have this many times. Those real, in the field, one-to-one discussions with that humble farmer, where that humble farmer shares with you how our contribution as a company, as an industry, as government, as private, has contributed to their well-being. Not only increasing yields and farm income, which is the data taken out of it, but actually enabling things that are transformational in their lives. That extra piece of comfort in the house, the piece of mechanization that, although basically takes some of the pain and the hard work out of farming, the access to education and healthcare for families, and much, much more. And so it's very clear that from a social and a human side, we are really advancing in Indian agriculture, and as a result, in rural communities. So that's the human side. What about the environmental side of sustainability? And how are we doing there? You know, we all play a part. In Corteva, for example, we have decades of leadership in green chemistry, with products such as Qvelva, Finitran, Rinskor, and soon-to-be launched Adavir, and great technologies such as Brightsol, long-lasting control and low rates, reducing environmental load and the need for labor. But we're taking our sustainability commitment even further, and I know that you are as we come together to use it. And beyond that, we're working together in many areas. One example of which is the conversion of direct-seed rice systems here in India in response to increasing water scarcity concerns. We already know that we significantly reduce water consumption. Our own work indicates very clearly or confidently 35 to 50% reduction, and greenhouse gas emissions by about 25% per acre of rice. So yes, we are making a difference in the sustainable footprint of agriculture in India as we grow. Come back towards the end. I just talk a little bit more about how we can do, from a policy framework perspective, how we can do that a little bit more to build that into India's competitive advantage not only in the field in India, but also as that globally leading in the future agrochemical supplier to the world. So let's move from the farms of India to India's potential to lead the industry. Today, India holds a prominent position as the fourth largest producer in the world, and the industry has huge potential to grow further. India has fundamental potential, and with the right technology, investment, and policy, I believe there's tremendous opportunity to unlock the industry. It's this combination of elements that create competitive advantage for India today and increasingly in the future. The sheer size of the market footprint, the world's second largest arable mass, and on that huge arable land mass, the world's greatest potential for growth and technology adoption. If we overcome that by creating a leadership platform through industry and government working together in sustainable solutions for farmers, especially enabled by new technologies, we add. And I think of the Agarwal before me represented. India has been building this industry, strong relationships built on trust to supply agrochemicals to many parts of the world. If we enable all of this with a proactive, predictable policy and regulatory environment, we really unlock tremendous opportunities both in the field for Indian agriculture and locally for the agrochemical industry. That's the strategic platform for global leadership. So, how does that policy and regulatory environment make a difference? And what are the outside perspectives on this? Firstly, in India, you have some great examples where it's painted India as a very positive light. Tremendous industry, government, and regulatory collaboration in the face of adversity. And when we talk about resilience, these are the kinds of things to look for, and India has really shown the way. Outside our industry, the incredibly fast and effective response in the COVID-19 vaccine pathways for society. And inside our industry, the private and government collaboration and positive regulatory action around full army around local tax. And then, as I mentioned before, the direct stated rights opportunity that we have in response to the water crisis, and how public and private, our government and industry, are starting to work together and align positions that will enable us together to move the needle on a much larger scale. These things are really important inside India, and they're really important outside India, and they're great responses in the face of adversity, represent resilience in the Indian industry. To more fully withdraw sustainable growth, however, it's really important to take that a step further. We need to take that spirit that enables us to work together to mobilize in response to a crisis into a proactive, predictable policy environment that incentivizes in the right areas, particularly sustainable technologies in India. To ensure that participants are recognize the forward thinking of India in three key areas. Firstly, the fast-track registration system, the new mechanism of critical molecules enabled by the registration scheme under the Ministry of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare. I'd like to congratulate the Government of India for introducing this fast-track mechanism, both in the world, I believe, and enabling one of the key elements of growth with more effective and sustainable technologies. Second, the 3D reform agenda, discussed this update deliver, is another very well successful in crop protection and regulatory reforms. I know the whole industry is keenly looking forward to seeing how it shapes and how we can get new age molecules faster to the farmers to advance our sustainable growth agenda on the Indian farm, and that same pathway creates an early mover opportunity for India in new global technologies, improving the ability to lead global supply chains into the future. And third and finally, and most importantly, the commitment to a predictable, science-based regime for product registrations. So, inflow of technology to Indian farmers and outflow of Indian source solutions are both ensured to advance the industry. including with the farmer and sustainable growth in the center of Watson Triangle. Industry and public institutions, policy environment, and regulatory regime make the three sides of the triangle. The solution lies in the convergence of technology and innovation enabled by policy and proactive, forward-thinking regulation. From that basis, sustainable growth of agriculture